Lisa Parker stepped off the transport pod and onto the gleaming floors of Zephyr Station. The massive space station rotated slowly in the darkness of space, creating artificial gravity for the thousands of beings who lived and worked there. She pulled her worn travel bag over her shoulder and looked around at the busy corridors filled with aliens from dozens of different worlds. After 3 years on a deep space mission, Lisa was finally heading home to Earth. But first, she needed to buy a ship. Her military transport would take her back to Earth, but then she would be retired. At 45, she had served her time in the Terran Defense Fleet. Now she wanted her own vessel to explore the galaxy at her own pace. Lisa wore simple civilian clothes, dark pants, a plain shirt, and comfortable boots. Her brown hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked tired, which she was. The last mission had been tough, and she had spent months in cramped quarters fixing damaged systems. While her ship flew through dangerous space, she walked through the station's main corridor, passing shops and restaurants. The air smelled of strange spices and recycled atmosphere. Beings of all shapes and sizes moved around her. Some had multiple arms, others had scales or fur. A few floated in special atmosphere suits. Lisa had grown used to the diversity during her years in space. The directory showed that Galactic Luxury Vessels was on level 7. Lisa took the transport tube up, watching through the transparent walls as the station's interior spread out below her. Gardens and parks filled the central areas, while shops and offices lined the outer rings. When the doors opened on level 7, Lisa found herself facing an impressive showroom. The entrance to Galactic Luxury Vessels was made of polished metal and crystal. Through the large windows, she could see sleek starships displayed inside. Some were small personal craft, others were larger vessels designed for long journeys. Lisa paused at the entrance. She had visited other dealerships on different stations, and they had all disappointed her. The salespeople either ignored her or tried to pressure her into buying something she did not want. She hoped this place would be different. The doors slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the showroom was even more impressive. The ceiling was high and filled with soft lighting that made the ships gleam. The floor was polished stone, and quiet music played in the background. Several starships sat on display platforms, their hulls perfect and new. Lisa walked slowly among the ships, examining them with the trained eye of an engineer. She had spent years designing and repairing starship systems. She could tell which vessels were well built and which ones were just pretty to look at. A movement caught her eye. An alien woman approached from across the showroom. She was tall and thin, with skin that looked like blue crystal. Her features were sharp and angular, and her eyes were a bright silver color. Lisa recognized her as a Centaurian. They were known for being proud and thinking themselves superior to other species. The alien wore an expensive-looking outfit that probably cost more than Lisa made in a month. Her name tag read Vexara, Senior Sales Consultant. Vexara looked Lisa up and down with obvious disapproval. Her silver eyes took in the worn clothes, the tired appearance, and the simple travel bag. Her expression suggested she had found something unpleasant on the bottom of her shoe. "Can I help you?" Vexara asked in a tone that clearly indicated she did not want to help at all. "Yes, I'm looking for a personal exploration vessel," Lisa said politely. "Something reliable for long-distance travel." Vexara's expression became even more dismissive. "I see. Well, this is a luxury dealership. Our vessels are quite expensive and designed for sophisticated buyers who understand advanced technology." Lisa felt her jaw tighten slightly, but she kept her voice calm. "I understand. I'd like to look at your exploration-class ships." "Oh, I don't think those would be suitable for you," Vexara said with a fake smile. "Humans are still quite new to galactic travel. Perhaps you would be more comfortable with something simpler." We have a nice selection of basic transport pods in the used lot outside. Lisa took a deep breath. She had dealt with prejudice before. Some aliens still thought humans were primitive because they had only recently joined the galactic community. It was frustrating, but she had learned to stay professional. "I'd prefer to see your new vessels," Lisa said firmly. "I have the credits, and I know what I'm looking for." Vexara's smile became even more fake. Of course. But you must understand that our exploration vessels are very complex. They have advanced propulsion systems, sophisticated navigation computers, and life support systems that require considerable technical knowledge to operate. "I think I can manage," Lisa said dryly. Vexara led her toward a section of the showroom that clearly displayed the less expensive vessels. Lisa noticed they were passing the really impressive ships and heading toward what looked like the bargain section. "Now, this is a lovely little vessel," Vexara said, stopping in front of a small, basic-looking ship. "The Starhopper class, very simple to operate. It has basic life support, a simple navigation system, and enough range for short trips between nearby systems." Lisa looked at the ship's specifications displayed on a nearby screen. The information was clearly written for people who knew nothing about starships. Technical details were either missing or explained in childish terms. "What? About the plasma flow regulators?" Lisa asked. "And the gravitational compensation system?" Vexara looked surprised. "Well, those are very technical details. I'm sure you don't need to worry about such complex systems." Lisa walked around the ship, examining it closely. She could see several problems right away. The plasma conduits were poorly routed, the shield generators were undersized for the power system, and the life support backup systems were inadequate for long journeys. "This ship has some serious design flaws," Lisa said. "The plasma routing would cause efficiency problems, and the shield system is too weak for the engine output." Vexara laughed, but it was not a pleasant sound. "I'm sure you think you see problems, but these ships are designed by the finest engineers in the galaxy. Humans simply don't have the experience to understand such advanced technology." Lisa felt her temper rise, but she controlled it. She had learned long ago that losing her temper only made people dismiss her more quickly. "Perhaps you could show me something more suitable," Lisa said quietly. "Of course," Vexara said. "But first, let me help this gentleman who just arrived. I'm sure he'll be more interested in our premium vessels." Lisa turned to see a well-dressed Arcturian merchant entering the showroom. Vexara immediately abandoned Lisa and hurried toward the new customer with a completely different attitude. Lisa watched as Vexara hurried across the showroom toward the Arcturian merchant. The alien saleswoman's entire body language changed as she approached the well-dressed customer. Her back straightened, her fake smile became genuine, and her voice took on a warm, welcoming tone. "Welcome to Galactic Luxury Vessels," Vexara said to the Arcturian. "I am Vexara, your senior sales consultant. How may I assist you today?" The Arcturian was tall and broad, with green-tinted skin and elaborate clothing that sparkled with embedded gems. His species was known for their wealth and love of expensive things. Lisa could see why Vexara was excited to help him. "I need a vessel for my trading business," the Arcturian said in a deep voice. "Something impressive that will show my customers I am successful." "Perfect," Vexara replied. "Let me show you our finest vessels. We have ships that will make you the envy of every merchant in the sector." Lisa stood alone near the basic transport ship, Forgotten. She watched as Vexara led the Arcturian toward the premium section of the showroom, where the most expensive and beautiful ships were displayed. Other staff members noticed Vexara's attention to the wealthy customer and began gathering around. To help, a young Rigelian employee approached Lisa hesitantly. His name tag read Zeph, Junior Sales Associate. He had pale blue skin and large, kind eyes. "Excuse me," he said quietly. "Can I help you with anything?" Before Lisa could answer, Vexara's sharp voice called across the showroom. "Zeph, come here. I need you to prepare the documentation for our valued customer." Zeph looked apologetic. "I'm sorry," he whispered to Lisa. "I have to go." Lisa nodded. She understood. In sales, you help the customers who seemed most likely to buy expensive things. She looked around the showroom and decided to continue examining. The ship's on her own. She walked toward the premium section, where Vexara was showing the Arcturian a large, impressive vessel called the Stellar Majesty. Lisa stayed far enough away to avoid attracting attention, but close enough to hear the conversation and see the ship. "This is our top-of-the-line exploration and trading vessel," Vexara was saying. "It has the fastest hyperdrive available, luxury accommodations for 12 passengers, and cargo space for your most valuable goods." Lisa studied the ship from a distance. It was certainly beautiful, with sleek lines and polished metal surfaces. But as her trained eye examined the technical specifications displayed nearby, she began to notice problems. The plasma conduits were routed in a way that would create dangerous pressure buildup over time. The shield generators were positioned too close to the main engines, which would cause interference and reduce their effectiveness. Most concerning was the power distribution system, which had a critical flaw that could cause complete system failure during emergency situations. Lisa moved closer, trying to get a better look at the technical readouts. The information displayed for customers was simplified, but she could read between the lines and understand what the systems really meant. "The hyperdrive on this model can achieve speeds up to factor 12, Vexara was telling the Arcturian. "That's faster than most military vessels." Lisa frowned. Looking at the engine specifications, she could see that the hyperdrive was overpowered for the ship's structural design. Running it at maximum speed would put dangerous stress on the hull. It might work for short trips, but extended use would cause metal fatigue and potential catastrophic failure. The Arcturian seemed impressed. "Excellent. And the defensive systems?" "State-of-the-art shield technology," Vexara replied. "These shields can withstand attacks from pirates or natural phenomena like ion storms." Lisa studied the shield specifications more carefully. The generators were inadequate for a ship of this size, and their positioning near the engines would cause power fluctuations that would weaken the shields exactly when they were needed most. She realized she had to say something. If the Arcturian bought this ship and tried to use it for trading runs through dangerous space, he could be killed when the systems failed. Her conscience would not let her stay silent. Lisa stepped forward politely. "Excuse me," she said to the group around the ship. Vexara turned with obvious annoyance. "Yes, what is it?" "I couldn't help but notice the specifications on this vessel," Lisa said carefully. "There are some potential safety issues that you might want to address." The Arcturian looked at her with mild interest, but Vexara's expression became hostile. "Safety issues?" Vexara said with a laugh. "This ship was designed by the finest engineers in the galaxy. It has passed all safety inspections and regulations." "Yes, but if you look at the plasma conduit routing," Lisa began, pointing to the COFA technical display, "the pressure buildup in sections 7 through 12 could cause—" "I'm sorry," Vexara interrupted loudly, "but I don't think a human would understand the complexities of advanced Zentarian engineering. These systems are far beyond the technological level your species has achieved." Lisa felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, but she pressed on. "The shield generators are positioned too close to the main engines. The electromagnetic interference will reduce shield effectiveness by at least 30% during combat situations." Vexara laughed again, louder this time. Other customers in the showroom began to look over at the commotion. "Listen," Vexara said in a condescending tone. "I appreciate that you're trying to help, but humans have only been traveling in space for a few decades. These technologies have been perfected over centuries by species far more advanced than yours. Perhaps you should focus on finding a nice, simple transport pod that's more suitable for your level of understanding. The Arcturian was watching the exchange with growing amusement. Is this human trying to tell us about starship engineering? He asked with a chuckle. I'm afraid so, Vexara replied. Humans often think they understand things beyond their capabilities. It's quite amusing, really. Lisa felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her voice calm and professional. I'm simply trying to point out that the power distribution system has a critical flaw. If you look at the emergency backup routing— Enough, Vexara said sharply. You're embarrassing yourself and disturbing our customers. If you're not serious about purchasing a vessel, perhaps you should leave. The other staff members were now watching the scene with obvious disapproval directed at Lisa. The Arcturian shook his head in disbelief that a human would dare question the engineering of advanced species. Lisa stood there for a moment, feeling the weight of their stares and their dismissive attitudes. She had tried to help, tried to prevent a potential tragedy, and had been publicly humiliated for her efforts. I understand, Lisa said quietly. I'll continue looking on my own. She turned and walked away from the group, hearing Vexara's voice behind her as the saleswoman tried to repair the situation with the Arcturian. I apologize for that interruption, Vexara was saying. Now, where were we? Ah yes, the luxury accommodations. Lisa moved to a quiet corner of the showroom, pretending to examine a smaller vessel while she collected her thoughts. She had dealt with prejudice before, but it never got easier. The frustrating part was that she genuinely wanted to help, and her warnings about the ship's flaws were real and serious. She looked back at the group around the Stellar Majesty. The Arcturian was nodding enthusiastically as Vexara continued her sales pitch. Lisa realized that he was probably going to buy the flawed vessel, and there was nothing she could do about it. All she could do was continue her own search and hope that somewhere in this vast galaxy, there was a dealership that would treat her with the respect she had earned through years of dedicated service. Lisa stood quietly in the corner of the showroom, pretending to study the specifications of a small courier vessel while she watched the scene unfold near the Stellar Majesty. Vexara was still talking excitedly to the Arcturian merchant, showing him every luxury feature the expensive ship had to offer. Other staff members had gathered around them, hoping to get credit for the large sale. The humiliation still burned in Lisa's chest. She had tried to help, tried to prevent what could be a deadly accident, and had been dismissed like an ignorant child. But she had learned long ago that anger accomplished nothing. She took slow, deep breaths and focused on why she was here. She needed a ship, and eventually she would find someone willing to sell her one with respect. The showroom's main entrance doors slid open with their familiar soft hiss. Lisa glanced over without much interest, expecting to see another customer or perhaps a delivery person. Instead, she saw a man in a crisp, military uniform walking through the doorway. The uniform was unmistakably human, the dark blue fabric, with silver trim that marked an officer in the Terran Defense Fleet. But this was not just any uniform. The man wore the dress blues reserved for special occasions, and his chest was covered with ribbons and medals. Lisa could see command pins on his collar and pilot's wings above his left pocket. The entire showroom seemed to pause. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Staff members froze in place. Even the background music seemed to fade as every being in the room turned to stare at the newcomer. Lisa recognized him immediately, and her heart skipped a beat. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the entrance, his presence filling the space around him with quiet authority. He was not a large man, but something about him commanded attention. His brown hair was perfectly styled, his uniform immaculate, and his bearing spoke of years of command responsibility. Jake Morrison was famous throughout the galaxy. Every species that belonged to the Galactic Alliance knew his name. He was the human captain who had saved 3 alien worlds during the Andromedan War, when the insectoid Andromedans had invaded the Rigel system. Threatening to destroy millions of innocent lives, Jake had led a desperate defense that held them off long enough for reinforcements to arrive. But Lisa knew Jake for different reasons. They had served together, worked together, and she had saved his life just as many times as the galaxy credited him with saving others. She wondered if he would remember her after all this time. Vexara was the first to recover from the shock. The Zentarian saleswoman practically flew across the showroom, abandoning the Arcturian customer without a word of apology. Her crystalline features were bright with excitement as she approached Jake. "Captain Morrison," she breathed, her voice filled with awe. "Captain Jake Morrison, this is such an honor. I am Vexara, senior sales consultant. Welcome to Galactic Luxury Vessels." Jake smiled politely, but Lisa could see the slight tightness around his eyes that meant he was not entirely comfortable with the attention. He had never liked being treated like a celebrity. "Thank you," Jake said in his calm, steady voice. "I'm looking for a personal vessel, something reliable for extended travel." Of course, Vexara gushed. "For a hero like yourself. We have only the finest ships available. Let me show you our premium collection. We have vessels that would be worthy of your distinguished service." Other staff members began gathering around Jake, each hoping to be part of serving the famous captain. The Arcturian merchant looked annoyed at being abandoned, but even he seemed impressed by Jake's presence. Lisa watched from her corner, amused despite everything. Jake caught sight of her over Vexara's head, and his entire expression changed. The polite smile became genuine, and his eyes lit up with real pleasure. "Lisa?" Jake called out, his voice carrying clearly across the showroom. "Lisa Parker? Is that really you?" Every head in the showroom turned toward Lisa. She felt her cheeks redden as she became the center of attention, but she walked toward Jake with a smile. "Hello, Jake," she said simply. "It's good to see you." To everyone's surprise, Jake stepped away from Vexara and the gathering staff members to embrace Lisa in a warm hug. It was not romantic, but the embrace of old friends and comrades who had been through difficult times together. "I can't believe it," Jake said, stepping back to look at her. "What are you doing here? Are you finally retiring?" "Next month, Lisa." "Confirmed. I'm shopping for a ship to take me exploring." "What about you? I thought you were still commanding the Terran Victory." "I was, but I've been reassigned to Earth. Desk duty for a while," Jake said with a slight grimace. "They want me to help train the next generation of officers. I need my own transport to get around the system." Vexara cleared her throat loudly, clearly uncomfortable with being ignored. "Captain Morrison, if we could return to the business of finding you a suitable vessel, ... Jake turned to her with raised eyebrows. "Of course. But first, I'd like to hear what Lisa thinks about your ships." "She's the best starship engineer in the fleet." Vexara looked confused. "Engineer?" "Lisa designed the shield systems that saved my ship during the Battle of Rigel Prime," Jake explained. "Her innovations are the reason I'm alive today, and the reason thousands of other people are alive too." Lisa felt embarrassed by the praise. "Jake, you don't need to ... "No, I absolutely do need to," Jake interrupted. "Lisa, your work revolutionized fleet defense systems. Every major ship in the Terran fleet now uses your shield harmonics design. You saved more lives than any soldier who ever carried a weapon." The showroom had gone completely silent. Vexara's crystalline face had turned a pale shade of blue, which Lisa recognized as the Zentarian equivalent of going white with shock. "You're an engineer?" Vexara asked weakly. "Chief engineer, actually," Jake said proudly. "Lisa spent 15 years designing and improving the systems that keep our ships running. She knows more about starship technology than anyone I've ever met." The Arcturian merchant had approached during this conversation, He looked at Lisa with new interest. "You are the human who created the adaptive shield systems?" Lisa nodded reluctantly. "Among other things. Remarkable," the Arcturian said. "Those systems saved my homeworld when the Andromedans attacked our shipping lanes. My entire family owes you a debt of gratitude." Jake turned back to Vexara, who looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. "Now then, what ships were you showing Lisa? I'd value her opinion before I make any decisions." Vexara stammered, clearly trying to figure out how to explain that she had been showing Lisa the cheapest, most basic ships in the inventory. "Actually," Lisa said quietly, "I was just examining that Stellar Majesty over there. The one your customer was interested in purchasing." Jake's expression became serious. When Lisa used that particular tone of voice, it usually meant she had found something important. "What did you think of it?" Jake asked. Lisa glanced at the Arcturian, then at Vexara. She had tried to warn them before and been dismissed. But now, with Jake asking her directly, she felt obligated to give her professional opinion. "It has some serious design flaws," Lisa said carefully. "The plasma conduit routing could cause pressure buildup that might lead to explosive decompression. The shield generators are positioned where they'll suffer interference from the main engines. And the power distribution system has a critical vulnerability that could cause total system failure during emergency situations." Jake's face went pale. "How serious?" "Potentially fatal," Lisa said simply. The showroom erupted in shocked whispers and murmurs. The Arcturian looked alarmed, and Vexara appeared ready to faint. "Are you certain?" Jake asked. Lisa nodded. "I tried to mention it earlier, but ... She trailed off, not wanting to embarrass Vexara further. Jake looked around the showroom, his expression hard. "I think we should take our business elsewhere, Lisa. Somewhere that values expertise over appearances." The silence in the showroom was so complete that Lisa could hear the soft hum of the air recycling systems. Everyone stared at her with new understanding. The tired-looking human woman in worn clothes was not just another customer. She was Chief Engineer Lisa Parker, the brilliant mind behind the technology that had helped win the Andromedan War. Vexara stood frozen, her crystalline features pale blue with shock. Her silver eyes darted between Lisa and Jake, as if trying to understand how she had made such a terrible mistake. The Arcturian merchant was the first to break the silence. "Chief Engineer Parker," he said formally, "if you believe the Stellar Majesty has dangerous flaws, I must take your warning seriously. Can you explain these problems in more detail?" Lisa looked at Jake, who nodded encouragingly. She walked toward the displayed ship, and the crowd of staff and customers followed her like students following a teacher. "The main issue is here," Lisa said, pointing to a section of the technical display. "The plasma conduits carry superheated gas from the fusion reactor to the hyperdrive systems. But look at this routing path." She traced a line on the diagram with her finger. "The conduits pass through 3 structural support areas where they make sharp turns. Each turn creates turbulence in the plasma flow. Over time, this turbulence causes pressure spikes that stress the conduit walls." The young Rigelian employee Zeph leaned forward with interest. "What would happen if the conduits failed?" "Catastrophic. Plasma breach," Lisa said simply. "The superheated gas would burn through the hull in seconds. Anyone in the affected sections would be killed instantly, and the ship would likely be destroyed." The Arcturian's green skin turned a sickly pale. "Color. How long before this might happen?" Lisa studied the specifications more carefully. "Based on the conduit material and the stress calculations, I would estimate 6 months to 2 years of regular use. The harder you push the hyperdrive, the faster the failure will occur." Vexara finally found her voice. But these ships passed all safety inspections. The designers are highly qualified Zenturian engineers with centuries of experience." "I'm sure they are," Lisa said diplomatically. But sometimes even experienced engineers can overlook things. The plasma routing problem might not show up in standard testing because it develops slowly over time. Jake moved to stand beside Lisa. What about the shield problems you mentioned? Lisa pointed to another section of the display. The shield generators are positioned here, directly adjacent to the main engine compartment. When the engines operate at full power, they create a strong electromagnetic field. This field interferes with the shield generators, reducing their effectiveness. By how much? Jake asked. In combat situations, when you need maximum engine power and maximum shields, the interference would reduce shield strength by about 30%, Lisa explained. That might be the difference between surviving an attack and being destroyed. The Arcturian shook his head in dismay. And the power distribution problem? Lisa highlighted a different section of the ship's schematic. The backup power system is routed through a single junction point here. If that junction is damaged by enemy fire or system failure, the entire backup system goes offline. That means if your main power fails, you lose life support, artificial gravity, and emergency systems all at once. That's a death trap, Jake said grimly. It could be, Lisa agreed. A proper design would have multiple redundant pathways for backup power. This ship only has one. Vexera looked desperate, but surely these are minor issues that could be repaired. The plasma conduit problem would require completely redesigning the internal structure of the ship, Lisa said. You would essentially need to rebuild it from scratch. The shield interference could be fixed by relocating the generators, but that would also require major structural changes. The power distribution issue could be addressed more easily, but it would still mean tearing out and replacing most of the ship's electrical systems. The Arcturian merchant stepped back from the ship as if it might explode at any moment. So this vessel is essentially worthless? Not worthless, Lisa said fairly. It could be used for short trips in safe space, where you don't need to push. The system's hard, and there's no risk of combat. But for long-distance trading runs through potentially dangerous areas, it's not safe. Word of the conversation was spreading throughout the showroom. Other customers were gathering around to listen to Lisa's analysis. Several of them looked worried as they glanced at the ships they had been considering. A well-dressed vegan diplomat approached nervously. Chief Engineer Parker, I was planning to purchase that exploration vessel over there. Could you examine it as well? Lisa looked at Jake, who smiled and nodded. Of course, Lisa said. She walked over to the ship the diplomat had indicated and spent several minutes studying its specifications. The crowd followed her, hanging on her every word. This one is much better designed, Lisa announced. The plasma routing is efficient, the shield generators are properly positioned, and the power systems have adequate redundancy. I do see one minor issue with the atmospheric recycling system that could cause problems on very long journeys, but it's easily fixable. The diplomat looked relieved. Thank you. I will have my mechanics address that issue before I take delivery. More customers began approaching Lisa with questions about various ships. She found herself conducting an impromptu inspection of half the vessels in the showroom. Some ships passed her examination with only minor concerns, while others had serious flaws that made them dangerous or unreliable. Vexera watched this process with growing horror. Several customers who had been planning to make purchases were now reconsidering or canceling their orders based on Lisa's findings. The Arcturian merchant had already declared that he would not buy the Stellar Majesty under any circumstances. Jake observed the scene with obvious pride. This is what Lisa does, he told anyone who would listen. She sees problems that other people miss. During the war, she would walk through a ship and spot potential failures before they happened. She saved more ships and more lives than any weapon we ever built. A Centaurian customer who had been examining a luxury yacht approached Lisa nervously. Chief Engineer, could you look at the Star Dancer? I was planning to use it for a diplomatic mission to the Outer Rim. Lisa examined the yacht specifications and frowned. This ship has a fundamental design flaw in its hyperdrive cooling system. If you tried to make the journey to the Outer Rim, the drive would overheat and fail halfway there. You would be stranded in deep space. The Centaurian looked shocked. But the salesperson assured me this ship was perfect for long-distance travel. Lisa glanced at the specifications again. For short hops between nearby systems, it would work fine. But any journey longer than 10 hours of continuous hyperdrive operation would be dangerous. Jake shook his head in disgust. How many ships in this showroom actually work properly? Lisa had now examined 8 different vessels. 3 of them are solid designs with only minor issues. 2 have moderate problems that could be fixed with some work. 3 have serious safety flaws that make them dangerous to operate. The showroom had become chaotic. Customers were demanding explanations from the sales staff. Several people were canceling orders or demanding refunds. Others were asking Lisa to examine ships they had already purchased. Vexara approached Lisa with obvious reluctance. Her earlier arrogance had been replaced by desperation. "Chief Engineer Parker," she said quietly, "perhaps we could discuss this situation privately?" Lisa looked at the Centaurian saleswoman calmly. "What would you like to discuss?" "I think there may have been some misunderstandings earlier," Vexara said carefully. "I was not aware of your qualifications and expertise. Perhaps we could start over?" Jake stepped forward protectively. "I think we've seen enough of your customer service, thank you." Vexara's crystalline features flushed with embarrassment. "Captain Morrison, surely we can resolve this situation. I am prepared to offer Chief Engineer Parker significant discounts on any vessel she chooses, plus premium service and support, after you insulted her and dismissed her expertise." Jake asked coldly, "After you told her that humans don't understand advanced technology?" Other customers were now listening to this conversation with interest. Word was spreading through the station's communication networks that something dramatic was happening. At Galactic Luxury Vessels, Lisa's personal communicator chimed with an incoming message. She glanced at it and saw that other Starship dealerships on the station were already contacting her, having heard about the situation. They were offering her better prices and respectful service. "I think we should leave," Lisa said quietly to Jake. "I don't think this is the right place for either of us to buy a ship." Lisa's communicator chimed again with another incoming message. She glanced at the screen and saw offers from 3 different dealerships on Zephyr Station. Word was traveling fast through the station's business network. Vexara noticed Lisa checking her messages and became even more desperate. "Chief Engineer Parker, please wait. I'm sure we can find a solution that works for everyone. Perhaps I could offer you our employee discount, plus free maintenance for the first 5 years. And what about all the other customers you've been selling dangerous ships to?" Jake asked pointedly. "Are you going to fix their problems too?" Vexara's crystalline face shifted through several shades of blue as she struggled to find an answer. Around the showroom, other staff members were dealing with angry customers who demanded explanations about the ships they had purchased or were considering buying. The young Regellian employee Zeph approached Lisa hesitantly. "Chief Engineer Parker," he said quietly, "I want to apologize for how you were treated. It was wrong, and I should have done more to help you." Lisa smiled at him kindly. "You tried to help, Zeph. I appreciate that." "I've been working here for 2 years, Zeph continued, "and I never knew about these problems with our ships. I've been selling vessels that could have killed people." He looked genuinely upset. "You didn't know," Lisa said gently. "But now you do. What you do with that knowledge is what matters." Jake's communicator buzzed with an urgent message. He read it quickly and his expression became serious. "Lisa, I just got word from Fleet Command. They're asking about the situation here. Apparently, News of your ship inspections has reached the Terran Defense Council. Lisa felt a sinking feeling in her stomach. That's not good. Actually, it might be very good, Jake said with a slight smile. The council is concerned about how you were treated, and they're also interested in your findings about ship safety. They want to know if other dealerships are selling dangerous vessels to military personnel and civilians. Vexara overheard this conversation and looked terrified. Military investigation? The Terran fleet takes ship safety very seriously, Jake explained. If we're buying vessels for our officers, we need to know they're reliable. And if civilian populations are being sold dangerous ships, that's a matter of public safety. A well-dressed human man in an expensive suit approached their group. Lisa recognized him from the news broadcasts, Marcus Wells, the regional manager for galactic luxury vessels. He must have been contacted by his staff about the crisis. Captain Morrison, Chief Engineer Parker, Marcus said smoothly. I apologize for any misunderstanding that may have occurred. I'm sure we can resolve this situation to everyone's satisfaction. Misunderstanding? Jake repeated coldly. Your employee insulted Chief Engineer Parker, dismissed her expertise, and refused to listen when she tried to warn about serious safety problems. That's not a misunderstanding, that's discrimination. Marcus glanced at Vexara with obvious displeasure, then turned back to Lisa and Jake. I assure you that this does not represent our company's values. We respect all our customers regardless of species or background. Then why was Chief Engineer Parker treated so poorly? Jake asked. Marcus looked uncomfortable. There will be consequences for the staff members involved, and we're prepared to offer substantial compensation for the poor service. Lisa's communicator chimed again. This time it was a message from Admiral Chun, her former commanding officer. The message was brief but clear. Lisa, heard about the situation. Fleet is backing you completely. Buy your ship wherever you feel respected. That's an order. Lisa showed the message to Jake, who grinned. I think that settles it. Marcus read the message over Jake's shoulder, and his face went pale. Having the Terran fleet support meant this situation could become a much bigger problem for his company. Chief Engineer Parker, Marcus said urgently, please allow us to make this right. We'll give you any ship in our inventory at cost, plus full service and support. We'll also investigate our sales practices to ensure this never happens again. What about the ships with safety problems? Lisa asked. Marcus hesitated. We'll have our engineers review your findings. And if I'm right about the flaws, then we'll take appropriate action. Lisa looked around the showroom at the customers who were still arguing with sales staff about ships they had bought or wanted to buy. Many of them looked worried and confused. Mr. Wells, Lisa said formally, I've identified serious safety flaws in several ships you're currently selling. These flaws could result in deaths. What are you going to do about that? Marcus was clearly hoping to avoid this question. We'll investigate your claims thoroughly. That's not good enough, Jake said firmly. Chief Engineer Parker has identified specific life-threatening problems. Are you going to continue selling these ships while people could be killed? The conversation was being overheard by customers and staff throughout the showroom. Lisa could see people recording the discussion on their personal devices. This would be all over the galactic news networks within hours. Marcus realized he was trapped. We'll temporarily suspend sales of any vessels that Chief Engineer Parker has identified as having safety concerns, pending a full engineering review. And what about people who already bought these ships? Lisa asked. We'll contact them and offer free inspections and repairs, Marcus said reluctantly. Lisa nodded. That's a good start. But Jake is right. I think we should take our business elsewhere. She turned to address the crowd that had gathered around them. For anyone who's interested, I'm planning to visit other dealerships on this station. You're welcome to come along if you'd like a second opinion on any ships you're considering. About a dozen customers immediately expressed interest in joining Lisa's impromptu ship inspection tour. The Arcturian merchant was the first to volunteer, followed by the Centaurian diplomat and several others. As they prepared to leave, Zeph approached Lisa one more time. "Chief Engineer Parker, would it be possible for me to come with you? I want to learn how to properly evaluate ships so I can do better at my job." Lisa looked at the young Regellian's earnest face. "What about your employment here?" "I think I need to find a new job," Zeph said quietly. "Somewhere that values honesty and customer safety." Jake clapped Zeph on the shoulder. "Good for you, son. Integrity is more important than any paycheck." As their group headed toward the exit, Vexera made one last desperate attempt. "Chief Engineer Parker, please reconsider. We can offer you anything you want." Lisa paused at the showroom entrance and looked back at the Centaurian saleswoman. "What I wanted was basic respect and courtesy. I wanted someone to listen when I tried to help. Those things can't be bought, and you can't offer them to me now because you already showed me you don't have them." The group left Galactic Luxury Vessels and walked through the station corridor toward the next dealership on Lisa's list. Behind them, they could hear raised voices as the crisis at the luxury showroom continued to unfold. "Where to next?" Jake asked cheerfully. Lisa checked her messages again. She now had invitations from 6 different dealerships, all promising respectful service and competitive prices. One message caught her attention. It was from a small, family-owned business called Honest Ships, run by a Regellian family with a reputation for fair dealing. "Let's try Honest Ships," Lisa said. "They sound promising." As they walked through the station, other travelers recognized Jake and began following them, curious about what was happening. The group grew larger as they moved through the corridors, becoming an impromptu parade of customers seeking honest treatment and safe ships. Lisa reflected on how quickly things had changed. An hour ago, she had been dismissed and insulted. Now she had the backing of the Terran fleet, a growing group of customers who respected her expertise, and multiple dealerships competing for her business. Sometimes, she thought, the universe had a way of correcting itself. The group of 15 customers followed Lisa and Jake through the winding corridors of Zephyr Station. Word had spread quickly about the events at Galactic Luxury Vessels, and more people joined them as they walked. Some were curious onlookers. Others were customers who had heard about Lisa's ship inspections and wanted her advice. Honest Ships was located on Level 5, in a quieter section of the station away from the flashy main commercial district. The storefront was modest compared to Galactic Luxury Vessels, clean and professional, but without the expensive crystal decorations and polished marble floors. Lisa paused outside the entrance and looked at the simple sign above the door. Honest Ships, quality vessels, fair prices, straight talk. She smiled. "I like it already." The doors slid open as they approached, and a pleasant chime announced their arrival. The showroom inside was smaller than the luxury dealership, but it felt warm and welcoming. The ships on display were clean and well-maintained, with clear, detailed specification sheets posted beside each vessel. A middle-aged Regellian man approached them with a friendly smile. He was shorter than most of his species, with kind eyes and calloused hands that suggested he worked on ships himself. His name tag read, Kefter, Owner-Manager. "Welcome to Honest Ships," Kefter said warmly. "My name is Kefter. How can I help you today?" Lisa noticed immediately that Kefter addressed the entire group, not just Jake in his impressive uniform. His tone was respectful but not servile, treating them as valued customers rather than celebrities or sources of money. "We're looking for reliable ships," Lisa said. "Several of us need personal vessels for different purposes." "Excellent," Kefter replied. "What kind of missions will you be using them for?" "Long-distance exploration, short-range transport, cargo hauling." The more I know about your needs, the better I can help you find the right ship. Jake stepped forward. I'm Captain Jake Morrison, and this is Chief Engineer Lisa Parker. We've just come from Galactic Luxury Vessels, where we had some concerns about ship quality and safety. Keftor's expression became serious. I see. Well, I can promise you that every ship we sell has been personally inspected by me and my family. We've been in this business for 3 generations, and our reputation is built on selling vessels that work properly and keep people safe. The Arcturian merchant who had been considering the flawed Stellar Majesty stepped forward. We would like Chief Engineer Parker to examine your ships, if that's acceptable. Of course, Keftor said without hesitation. I welcome any expert. Evaluation. In fact, I insist on it. If there are problems with any of our ships, I want to know about them so we can fix them. Lisa was impressed by Keftor's attitude. He seemed genuinely interested in customer safety rather than just making sales. Let me show you our inventory, Keftor continued. We have ships from several different manufacturers ranging from basic transport pods to advanced exploration vessels. All of them have been refurbished to like new condition, and we provide detailed maintenance histories. He led them to a sleek, medium-sized ship near the center of the showroom. This is the Wanderer-class exploration vessel. It's perfect for long-distance travel, with efficient engines, reliable life support, and comfortable accommodations for up to 4 people. Lisa examined the ship's specification display. Unlike the simplified information at Galactic Luxury Vessels, these technical details were complete and accurate. She could see immediately that the engineering was solid and well thought out. The plasma conduit routing is excellent, Lisa said, tracing the pathways on the diagram. Smooth curves, proper pressure regulation, and multiple safety valves. The shield generators are positioned optimally for maximum effectiveness, and the power distribution has full redundancy with multiple backup pathways. Keftor beamed with pride. My daughter Lyra rebuilt those power systems herself. She's a qualified engineer, and she won't let any ship leave here unless the electrical systems are perfect. Your daughter is an engineer? Jake asked with interest. Yes, she graduated from the Rigelian Technical Institute 5 years ago, Keftor said proudly. She handles all our major system overhauls. Would you like to meet her? A young Rigelian woman emerged from a nearby workshop, wiping her hands on a clean towel. She had the same kind eyes as her father, but her clothing was practical work gear rather than business attire. This is my daughter Lyra, Keftor said. Lyra, this is Chief Engineer Lisa Parker and Captain Jake Morrison. Lyra's eyes widened. With recognition, Chief Engineer Parker? You designed the adaptive shield harmonic system? I studied your work in engineering school. Your power distribution theories revolutionized starship design. Lisa felt her cheeks redden with embarrassment. Thank you. That's very kind. I have so many questions about your work, Lyra continued enthusiastically. The way you solved the resonance cascade problem in multi-layered shield arrays was brilliant. Perhaps we could discuss it while I examine your ships, Lisa suggested. Pleased to meet someone who understood her work on a technical level. For the next hour, Lisa and Lyra moved through the showroom together, examining each vessel in detail. Lisa was impressed by the quality of the work. Every ship showed signs of careful attention and skilled craftsmanship. The few minor issues she identified were easily fixable maintenance items rather than serious safety problems. Your ships are excellently maintained, Lisa told Keftor. I haven't found a single serious flaw in any of them. The customers who had followed them from Galactic Luxury Vessels began making purchases immediately. The Arcturian merchant bought a sturdy cargo hauler perfect for his trading business. The Centaurian diplomat selected an elegant but reliable diplomatic transport. Several other customers found ships that met their needs and budgets, Lisa found. herself drawn to a beautiful exploration vessel called the Stellar Pioneer. It was larger than she had originally planned to buy, but it had everything she wanted for her retirement adventures: advanced sensors for scientific research, comfortable living quarters, and workshop space where she could tinker with new engineering projects. "This ship is perfect," Lisa told Kefter. "How much?" Kefter quoted a price that was significantly lower than what galactic luxury vessels had wanted for their flawed ships. "That includes a full inspection, 6 months of warranty, coverage, and free maintenance for the first year." "Deal," Lisa said immediately. Jake selected a fast courier ship that would be perfect for his new assignment, shuttling between Earth and the outer colonies. "Practical and reliable," he said with satisfaction. "Just what I need." As they completed their purchases, Kefter's son arrived with news from the station's communication networks. "Father," he said excitedly, "the story about galactic luxury vessels is all over the galactic news feeds. Chief Engineer Parker is being called a hero for exposing their safety problems." Lisa groaned. "I don't want to be called a hero. I just wanted to buy a ship." "Too late for that," Jake said with a grin. "By tomorrow, every dealership in the galaxy will know your name." Kefter's communicator chimed with incoming messages. "We're getting calls from other customers who want to bring their ships here for safety inspections," he reported. This could be very good for business. As they prepared to leave with their new ships, Lisa reflected on how much had changed in just one day. She had started the morning as an unknown customer being ignored and dismissed. Now she was the center of a galactic news story about starship safety and customer respect. Young Zeph, who had quit his job at Galactic Luxury Vessels, approached Kefter nervously. "Sir, I heard you might be hiring. I want to work somewhere that treats customers honestly." Kefter looked at Lisa, who nodded approvingly. "Can you start tomorrow?" he asked Zeph. "Yes, sir," Zeph replied gratefully. A few hours later, Lisa and Jake sat in the comfortable lounge of Lisa's new ship, sharing a drink and watching the stars through the viewport. Their ships were docked at the station while final preparations were completed for departure. "You know," Jake said thoughtfully, "what happened today shows something important about humanity's place in the galaxy." "What's that?" Lisa asked. "We don't need to be the strongest or the fastest or the most advanced species," Jake explained. "What makes us valuable is our character. The way you handled yourself today, staying professional when you were insulted, trying to help even when people dismissed you, treating everyone with respect regardless of how they treated you. That's what makes other species want to work with us," Lisa smiled. "And the way Kefter and his family treat their customers shows that character isn't limited to humans. Good people exist in every species." "True," Jake agreed. "But humans have a reputation now for judging others by their actions rather than their appearance or species. That's something to be proud of." The next morning, as Lisa prepared to depart for Earth in her new ship, her communicator brought news from across the galaxy. Galactic luxury vessels had been forced to recall dozens of ships for safety modifications. Several other dealerships had announced new customer service training programs. And the Galactic Business Council had passed new regulations requiring detailed safety disclosures for all starship sales. Lisa's simple desire to buy a ship with dignity and respect had sparked changes that would protect countless lives throughout the galaxy. As she set course for home,